Sexy September. For the final one of this year, we have Exotica.
Gentlemen, and maybe ladies. You've just heard Geoff swarmily introduce the last film in Film Seizure's Sexy September, Exotica.
Mm-hmm.
And
that wasn't me. That was
you?
That was somebody else. It wasn't me. I just called up a guy and it's like, hey, you got a deep voice. Want to do this?
Okay. So
don't put that on me.
So some sexy voice guy.
Yeah, sexy voice guy.
This week's movie, and the last film in the Sexy September series for
Sexy
2018
September.
is Adam Egoyan's Exotica. I did not quite know what I was getting into here at all.
But I did.
But Geoff did. Geoff strategically placed this movie last. This is a really good movie.
It really is. Yeah. We had lots of good things to say about Basic Instinct.
Yeah.
Because in entertainment wise, that's a fun, entertaining movie.
Yes.
This is something completely and totally different.
Yes. Where Basic Instinct is kind of popcorn thriller, this is something a little bit more affecting. It's a little weird beard artsy fartsy, if you will. This is a very well-crafted character study of several characters.
All of them are broken.
Yes, all of them are broken in some way. Adam Egoyan cited the erotic thriller as kind of the template, the influence for the movie he made. But really, I think it was sort of like, it's like the stage dressing, right?
Yeah.
He used that template to tell a really interesting story with very interesting and tragic characters. I think to really set the stage of what he said here, he wanted to structure the story like a striptease. Gradually revealing an emotionally loaded history of his characters, and wow, I mean that is about as perfect a description as you can get. This definitely has a sexy September element.
Oh, absolutely. I mean the almost
but it's almost
80% of the scenes take place in a strip club.
It's almost like when you got to give your pet medicine.
Mm-hmm.
You put some peanut butter on it or something.
Yeah,
right?
Make it appealing.
The erotic thriller aspect of it is the peanut butter, but the medicine, man, it's there and it's affecting. And if you get your butt in the seat and you watch it and you let the story kind of take hold of you, you're really, really rewarded here.
Well, and the thing is, right afterwards, I said, I worked at the video store that you ultimately would work at a little bit down the line when this came out on video, or shortly after this came out on video, or something. I don't remember, but I remember that was I have very pleasant memories of those early days at the video store.
Yeah.
And like the trailer tape that we would play, and this was one that every time I heard the beginning of it, I stopped and turned and looked at, and it was meant to draw you in with this idea that this is a sexy erotic thriller, that you would be captivated by it. And I watched it, and I mean it is definitely for an 18-year-old boy who now is able to go into the dirty room at the video store. you were getting whatever you could out of anything that could potentially be appealing.
Right.
And there are 36 and 52-year-old men who look for the same things that came into that video store. They would have gotten something out of this if they wanted to. Now, maybe the funny thing is splashed across the front of this video box was 2 enthusiastic thumbs up from Siskel and Ebert. That might have turned some people away, worrying that it's going to be
Well, that's
So,
that's kind of a tricky thing, right? So here you go. You've got it's a Miramax classic, right? As the DVD box tells us.
But everything below that on the box was what was on the VHS cover,
right? So
and
it's,
even on the back.
So it's a Miramax film. It's got the enthusiastic thumbs up from Siskel and Ebert. New York Times says it's powerfully seductive, but the cover art, and this is what I remember from it. I did not see this movie until today. We're talking about it now, and I did not see this movie until today. And I always remembered this art. It's the spotlight on the sexy schoolgirl like stripping. I always imagine it as just like a Skinamax movie, is what I thought it would be. And when Geoff was like, I think you're going to be surprised by this, I was still really, really skeptical.
I don't know if you were necessarily skeptical, but I think you were intrigued, but were thinking what I was telling you as being something that you'd be surprised by would be like a character just walks in and is topless the entire way through.
Right.
Not anything really.
I didn't think I would be as emotionally affected by this movie as I was. And I think that I maybe was a little more prepared when I did look it up on Wikipedia before we watched it, and I saw that it was directed by Adam Egoyan, written and directed by Adam Egoyan, and that to me was like, oh, this is the guy.
This might be artsy.
Yeah, it might be a little artsy. This guy did The Sweet Hereafter. It was a very well regarded movie. It's like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Academy Award nominee for that.
Academy Award nominee in directing and writing. And won the Grand Jury Prize at Cannes. So I was like, oh, maybe.
And this won an award at Cannes.
It did. It won an award at Cannes. And I was like, oh, well then let's see. Let's see what this is all about. And honestly, it floored me. It really did.
Yeah, and and people who were looking to rent this movie would have been on the top shelf on the new release.
Yeah.
It's not a backroom dirty movie, but it would have been on the top because it's the only way you could have kept some kid renting it, or whatever. Loosey-goosey times back in the 90s.
There is, if I remember correctly, there is not one sex scene in this movie.
No, there is not.
It is a lot of stripping. It takes place in a strip club.
You do see nakedness. It is not the focus of any scene.
It is not. The strip club is in and of itself. It's the name of the movie,
right?
And the Exotica, and it is a character
in
this movie.
It is the place where all these broken people congregate. Right. Essentially,
it's sort of the convergence of a lot of storylines into this one place. And it gradually is revealed how these people know each other, why they know each other, and how they have. And maybe in some ways helped each other,
right? Or
potentially can help each other,
right? Anybody who rented this, if they wanted something sexy, they would have gotten it. Because there is still,
they would have gotten Mia Kirshner in a schoolgirl outfit stripping,
and there would have been other girls that are in the club that are. It is. She's really good at the dancing. She is phenomenal.
She is
great in this.
But there is not a bad performance in this movie.
No, nobody should have returned this movie thinking this is utter crap.
Right. Right.
If you did, you're probably sick.
This is the kind of movie that my mom, we talked about it last week, that my mom would have heard about and be like, oh, that's going to be trash. You should never watch that. But if she had actually watched it, it probably would have changed her mind, at least to some degree. She would have gotten something beneficial out of this. Oh, God. I didn't expect this, Geoff. God damn you. I'm like kind of, we just finished the movie 10 minutes ago, and I'm still reeling a little bit.
Look, we've got this. Next week, we've got a couple of decent movies. And then we got a whole month of worry until we get to what we hope is a good movie the end of that.
After Raw Force, this is easily the most highbrow movie we've covered. I mean, really.
Well, this movie didn't have anybody drop kicking a fucking van.
True.
I mean,
like just like wreck a
automatic
van with his foot. Yeah.
Automatic 10th of a point deduction. It has now dropped to second. Raw Force is
Number
perfect.
Number two, Exotica number one, but Raw Force is still perfect. It's like a point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean like Raw Force is 100.
It's the 1A horse in the field. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say Raw Force is at 100. Exotica's at 99.9.
Oh, okay.
Because
all right.
there's no kicking of a van in this.
That's true.
That's moving.
All right. Fair enough.
So here's the basic gist of this is a movie. This is a different type of movie when it comes to plot. You know, we made jokes before about token plot or about a lack of there being a plot. Jade last week, no plot, no plot, and no sexiness.
I mean, there's technically
some
a
sexiness.
plot, but
right, but it's token plot.
Yeah,
it's token plot.
It's just there.
This movie is a character study.
Yes,
and by definition, not much of a plot. It is more about the characters converging in a location or crossing paths.
It is more about it getting to know these characters, and as the story progresses, understanding their pain. Really,
yeah, it's understanding their damage.
Yeah.
So
it was actually funny because about halfway through the movie, I was like, "What the fuck is this movie about?" But it's so goddamn compelling.
Right.
Like I just couldn't stop watching it.
This is a slice of life type of movie.
Yeah.
But in the worst kind of slice of life way, which is this isn't a slice of life to make you feel better about your life. This is a slice of life that says, life sucks. You know, it's a bad place. This place sucks.
Oh, I want to go there because there's a moment, there's this scene.
Well, you want me to do a quick little run through of what set up the people?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so this movie stars Bruce Greenwood. For those of you who are not artsy fartsy, he was Captain Pike in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek.
Bruce Greenwood
universe.
has had an extensive career. I mean, he's been in everything. You've seen him in everything.
Oh, well, I mean, everybody saw Star Trek.
God damn it, he's in fucking First Blood. How'd that happen?
Yeah,
is everybody in First Blood?
I think everybody was in First Blood.
He was in Wild Orchid. I mean, Passenger 57 was the movie he made right before Exotica. He was in Sweet Hereafter. There you go. He's done some stupid movies like Disturbing Behavior and Double Jeopardy. Remember that one?
But you know what though? Let's dial it back here.
Rules of Engagement with William Friedkin.
Yeah.
He's in that.
Let's dial it back for a second here with Disturbing Behavior. Right?
Yeah.
Because that's a dumb movie. That's a real bad movie, and I'd really love to see the actual movie that wanted to be.
Yeah.
I kind of like that soundtrack.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 90s to the max.
He was John F. Kennedy in 13 Days.
Yep.
He was in the shitty Guy Ritchie movie Swept Away. He was in.
Was Madonna in that too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
She was the lead. He was in the great submarine horror film Below.
I haven't seen that.
I mean, he's been in so many movies. I mean,
I still haven't heard you mention Star Trek.
He was in Star Trek, Captain Christopher Pike,
and Star Trek.
He's the fucking voice of Batman in Under the Red Hood.
Oh wow!
How crazy is that?
That's awesome.
I mean, the guy is everywhere. He was in Super 8. I mean,
oh yeah, Super 8. I like that movie.
Yeah,
that's a monster movie.
Yeah. So. But I've always kind of been like, oh yeah, Bruce Greenwood, respectable. I like him. He's good. But nothing like this. Like this movie was just, he was tremendous. I mean, he carries this whole movie.
Right. He plays a man named Francis, who comes. They legitimately point this out. Specifically, they point out that he comes to Exotica every other night. Mm-hmm. He doesn't come multiple nights in a row. Legitimately comes every other night.
Yep.
He always has the same girl dance for him, which is Christina, who is Mia Kirshner. And they seem to like each other. Not sexually like each other, but she looks forward to seeing him, and he goes there specifically for her.
There's an understanding of some sort. They both seem to,
they're very comfortable around one another.
Right.
They are very respectful of one another. But
there's also a moment, and every time they interact, where he just kind of leaves abruptly.
Yes, or at least gets up and goes to the restroom or something.
Yeah.
And not not what you think.
No, not at
He
all.
gets up and he has a moment that he has to step away.
He's emotionally overwhelmed.
Yes.
Yep.
Then there is the person who runs Club Exotica, who is played by Adam McGowan's wife.
Who
is named Zoe in this. I can't pronounce her name in real life.
In real life, yeah, and she is pregnant.
Right.
In
she
real
is,
life in this movie,
but also is
but
pregnant.
also in the movie.
And she is kind of a legacy person because her mother started the club.
Yes.
Another important character is the owner of a exotic pet store.
Yes.
Which is dingy and gross as hell looking.
Yeah.
His name's Thomas.
Yes.
In this movie. Thomas, he's a little socially awkward.
Mm-hmm.
He's the first person you actually meet in this movie because he's going through customs. You find out he's smuggling bird eggs.
Yes.
Bird eggs that he can't.
And birds are a very prevalent motif.
Birds all over. I
throughout
mean,
this movie.
Exotica has a jungle motif. There's he sells birds. There's it's
Yep.
So then what you find out about him is that he shares a cab with somebody to go someplace, and the guy who asks him to share the cab with him gives him, to pay for the cab, 2 tickets to the ballet, which is kind of a dickhead move thing to do because he was on his 90s cell phone talking to his wife or whatever, saying that she isn't going to go to the ballet or whatever. So he just gives him the ticket and is like, well, that's my,
Yeah,
just sell him at the door, and then closes the door and walks away like an asshole. Even in Canada, there are business assholes.
Business assholes.
So what this guy does is he'll go to the concert hall and he sells 1 ticket to a gentleman, and he's essentially spending the evening with this person, and then after the show he pays them back for their ticket and says, I just don't feel right. And it's implied earlier on that he might be gay or bisexual. It's much more obvious later when he actually has a love scene with somebody. But he is essentially buying people's company.
Yeah.
Like, he is so socially awkward anyway. And then on top of that, he's a criminal, sort of.
Sort of, yeah.
Well, not sort of. I mean, he is, but it's a small time. So, I mean, smuggling bird eggs. I mean, I don't know what the rules are in Canada.
His character, I feel like, is the least satisfying for me in the end because.
Because he has the least arc.
Well, yeah, he doesn't really have an arc. I think that's the problem with him, and he is sort of. His storyline is kind of left hanging a little bit. Like,
but
there's this whole
time,
element of the customs agent who
he's the person he has a love scene.
He ends
with.
up having an affair of some sort with the custom agent who sees him come into the country, and somehow this guy pieces together. It's very tenuous that he's been smuggling bird eggs, and he steals the bird eggs
to give to the zoo.
Yeah, I don't.
What he says.
Yeah,
that
what the hell is he
going
to do? And then this puts him in a bit of a bind
because he owes the eggs to somebody who's paid him
else.
And then on top of that,
he gets blackmailed by Bruce Greenwood
because Bruce Greenwood is an auditor
right.
for Canada, whatever criminal code for their
right.
tax.
Because they've suspected him of smuggling of some sort. And are auditing him for tax evasion, basically.
Right. Yeah, because he smuggles $200,000 worth of bird eggs.
So in
a
lot of ways, he's sort of our pivot. You know?
Yeah, I mean,
everybody kind of like revolves around him in some way, but he's not really the focus. He's kind of the he's kind of the MacGuffin.
A little bit, but I mean, I think he's just there to show that everybody in this world is kind of a loser. He's they're all lonely, or they're all broken, or they're all losers. I mean, just losers in general.
But he is very important to moving the plot along. He is a person who is essentially used by several people.
Yeah.
He's kind of our schlub, if you will.
Right, he is,
Yeah.
and he's kind of a well, okay, we'll get to that. I'll get to my other. So the last person that's important in this movie is our DJ.
Yes. Very important.
He was very important. What's this character's name in this movie? It's oh shit.
Well, it's played by the actor Elias
Koteas.
who you people probably wouldn't recognize him as
Casey Jones
in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
The good ones. The 90s.
Right, the first two. He's been in so many movies though. He was in Cronenberg's Crash, a movie I think we'll probably cover at some point. He was in God, I mean everything. Let Me In, Shutter Island, fucking The Killing on AMC, the TV show.
Oh, wow.
He's a Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Hunting in Connecticut, The Fourth Kind, like all these genre films.
He's been in a lot of things.
He's kind of the face that you would be like, yep, I recognize him.
Right,
And
if you can't
the
see
Thin Red Line. I mean, he's worked with really big directors. Yeah, I mean,
Thin Red Line. That's
we're talking about a guy who is kind of a character actor who will take whatever the roles take him. I mean, he was in all 3 Ninja Turtle movies. He was in Cyborg fucking 2, but he was also in Terrence Malick's The Thin Red Line. I mean, he's that kind of guy.
Well, and yeah, so he is the baby daddy to Zoe's baby.
Yeah, yeah.
He is also formerly Christina's lover. And he is jealously protective of Christina. He hypes her up the most as the DJ for her dances, and he ultimately sets into motion anytime that she makes a connection with somebody. He sets into motion a way for them to be destroyed by it.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, in one way, so the main thing that he does is that he tells Bruce Greenwood's character, Frances, that she likes to be touched.
Right.
Which is a big no-no in strip clubs.
But this is after a long time of him observing a relationship between Greenwood and Kirshner.
Right.
They have the interaction we've talked about that is very mutually beneficial to them. And yes, there is probably a jealousy that's built up here, but I think there's something else there. I mean, he says it later when he kind of cops to what he did. He's like, I was healed by how you healed him.
Yeah.
Right? So you find out later some things. And that makes more sense. But when he tells her that, I kind of get the sense that she is not as able to give him what he needs. And because of that, he is not as able to get what he needs. He's almost like he's a voyeur, and that he was getting something emotional out of their connection that he's no longer able to get, because he feels like Bruce Greenwood maybe is become numb to that interaction.
Oh, maybe.
So he's kind of like, well, I want to nuke the whole thing because it's no longer healthy for anyone.
So
right?
just blow it up.
That's kind of what it feels like to me.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, he also... Well, we'll get to that here in a minute. But anyway, so basically, by touching her, Frances is now barred from being able to go in.
Yeah.
And he can't get what he needs from Christina. And one of the things that I know that throughout the movie, because one of the things that Elias, how do you pronounce his name?
Koteas, I think.
Koteas, yeah. What he does is he not just DJs for the club, but he also tells little stories about, and it's like it's very it's like a self-reflection of like, what do you want from them? They will give it to you for $5 a private dance. You know,
it's
he's a little pimpish.
It's
but
a little much too. It's kind of like, well, it's like he's trying to play on your psychology, but he's also a bit too introspective for my taste. If I'm at a strip club like that, I probably don't want I don't want some booming voice of God in my ear. You know what I mean?
Telling you that
telling me how to feel or why I should feel it.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, more accurately, though, if you think of this as a tragic drama, kind of built in a Greek tragedy sort of way, he acts as the chorus.
Yeah.
He is our narrator. He's telling us these little pieces of stuff that all starts to build together into this overarching why everybody is here.
And it's ironic too, because I don't even think quite understands it all.
No,
he has his own
him,
role to play,
and you see him practicing it, and he can't get it right.
Right,
he's unhappy with the things he says.
Yeah,
like almost like he has a frustration about.
But it is almost like he's trying to set a narrative.
Right,
and a narrative that suits him. Yeah,
right. So, right. So what we end up finding out is that Francis is he was a husband and a father. Mm-hmm. Oh, also you find out that he pays his niece $20 an hour to house sit for him.
Right.
Which he says babysit.
Yeah, but there's no one at home.
There's no one at home. She just goes over there and practices her music.
She plays piano and clarinet, I think.
Flute.
Flute, yeah.
And
Sarah Polley, by the way,
yes,
is the actress. She's 14 or 15 in this. I mean, you probably know her from the Dawn of the Dead remake, but she's been in tons of stuff too.
Yeah.
Was a child actress, and is now a very well-known and very well-regarded writer and director.
Yeah.
Very plugged into the Canadian film scene still to this day.
And her father, played by Victor
Garber.
Yep. Yeah.
Jennifer Garner's dad in Alias is probably his most prominent role.
And just recently on the CW DC shows as Professor Stein, the other half of Firestorm.
Again, another guy who's been in everything.
He's been in everything. He was in Titanic. I mean, he's been in the biggest movie ever made.
He's like that. He's another one of those faces. Yep.
I mean,
yep. But I
mean, absolutely everybody in the world saw him in Titanic.
Yeah.
It's impossible that you didn't see him in Titanic. He was the security chief of the ship. He is wheelchair bound, which we find out later happened from a car accident. He and Francis do not get along.
Yeah.
You don't really know why until you find out how he got into his wheelchair.
Yeah.
He was having an affair with Francis's wife. Mm-hmm. And she happened to be in the car when he got into his accident, and she died.
He was paralyzed of some sort.
And there's just, I mean, obviously, there's all sorts of friction there.
Yeah, and before that even happened, it's revealed that Francis's daughter was killed. She was murdered.
And he was implicated.
He was implicated because the police told him about the affair.
The possibility that she may not be his daughter.
And that she might be his daughter. So that was a motive that he might have killed his daughter. But he, of course, was
cleared. They don't even say why he was cleared. He was cleared. It doesn't matter.
And they don't even really give a whole lot of information about the circumstances of the murder or who killed her.
Right.
It was just
that's not the point.
It was a really tragic thing that happened.
Right.
That these characters all in some way it touched their lives in a very significant way.
As it turns out, shortly after college, for both Koteas' character and Mia Kirshner.
Yeah.
Because he said he graduated in radio communications or something like that, which makes sense because
a way to use your voice. They have a conversation about that even, yeah.
You see them constantly with a line of people. If you ever see a line of people going into a field of tall grass.
They're looking for
They're
a
looking
body.
for a body.
Yeah.
And they are part of the search party that was organized to find Francis's daughter. And they talk and they strike up a conversation. And you learn a little bit about him, how he feels unsatisfied in life in general. He's already feeling that malaise of the 20s. I mean, he just graduated from college, seemingly with something cool to say. I'm a radio communications major. That's kind of awesome. But he's very unhappy.
It's an interesting thing to me because those conversations I knew were important, but they were the most difficult to focus in on because you didn't know as much about the characters.
Yeah.
So for me, this is why I think this is the kind of movie that pays dividends on rewatches, right? I feel like the next time I watch this movie, knowing who these people are, I'm going to focus in on those interactions so much closer.
Yeah, and I think it reveals how he is, how he immediately latches onto her, to Christina, and he tells her things that he doesn't tell other people that he's known for years.
Yeah.
And he says something kind of sweet to her, like how she's like, well, why are you telling me? Because he says something like, well, I don't even know why I'm telling you these things.
He asked her if, it was a sweet moment, he asked her if she has many friends, and she says no. And she asked the same of him, and he said no. And she said, does that ever bother you, or something like that? And he says, well, yeah. She says, well, why? I said, because I would like if there were someone that I could tell about you because I really like you.
Yeah,
and somebody that I could go and talk to about this sweet girl I met. Something,
right.
To paraphrase.
And then she basically asks him, well, why? Why would you say that? And he's like, well, because I like
you. Yeah.
And it's a nice moment where you can feel he's lonely. She has other reasons for being lonely, which doesn't happen. You don't find out until the very end, and that's a gut punch.
It is. But it frames him important because if it weren't for those scenes, you would look at his character in the present as a villain, as a dirtbag.
Yeah.
But those scenes really, really kind of give him gravity.
It gives him reasons for things he's doing in the present.
Right.
And it's not just he does things in the present because he's a dick. I mean, there's something more
at play.
Yeah.
You're willing to give him a little bit of rope, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then and so what so here's where everything kind of swells to the big moment of the point of the, or not the point of this movie, but the climax, the character climax of all of these little stories. So Bruce Greenwood's been kicked out. He sends in Thomas to try to find out.
So he's basically blackmailed Thomas because he knows that he's a smuggler, and he's like, I need you to ask these questions of Christina, Mia Kirshner, because I don't understand why I've been kicked out. I want to get some information. They won't let me back in. So yes, he sends him in, and he has this really interesting scene with her where he's kind of interrogating her, but she's sort of a willing participant. She doesn't quite.
But he's asking her questions that I don't think anybody else ever has.
Yeah. So to her, this is like, oh my goodness, I've never really been able to think about the answers to these questions
and
before.
Why this person's so important to me and why I'm important to him.
Right. And she starts to give us a little bit of the guts, right? Like who he is and who she is to him. Why they connect. She talks about the fact that his daughter is dead and that she helps him cope with that.
Helps him cope with that. And she and Cateas finds his daughter's body. That's their connection.
Yeah, so in those flashback scenes when they're walking through the fields, Cateas sees the body, and it's a schoolgirl. She's dressed in a schoolgirl outfit, which is what Christina at the strip club, that's her shtick. She's the schoolgirl stripper.
She's the jailbait fantasy.
Right.
Yeah.
And Bruce Greenwood doesn't know that she was there, but
he doesn't know exactly who found who.
He connects to the schoolgirl outfit, and it's not sexual at all.
No.
It is. He keeps talking about, I just want to protect you.
Why? How could anybody ever possibly hurt you?
Possibly hurt you.
And you think it's a weird
he's projecting
fixation?
He's projecting his daughter
Yeah.
onto her, and in a way his daughter is like living through this stripper. So it's like it's this interesting aspect of what you can get from that type of interaction in a strip club, where yes, its primary purpose is sexual fulfillment of some way,
or sexual entertainment.
But it's also a place where you can go and you can have people role play.
Yeah.
An actual void in your life, a person or a thing that you are mourning or that you've lost. And that's what he's doing.
Right.
That's exactly what he's doing. I mean, and it's uncomfortable in some ways to see it now in this light, because you see her, she's sort of doing her sexy dance. She's kind of got her breasts coming out of her blouse.
But he's completely
he's not
blind
focused
to it.
on that at all.
Right.
He sees his little girl, and it's kind of fucking devastating.
Yeah. Well, but that's not all.
Nope.
So they find her, and Bruce Greenwood at one point in time is more than happy to kill Codius.
So yeah, so he goes.
Catius, however you pronounce his name.
He goes Casey Jones. He goes a
Casey
little.
Jones,
He goes a little crazy, because after the smuggler, the egg smuggler, such a weird plot line, but after he kind of he's bugged and he hears everything, and he's like, so after he hears everything, he's like, he wants to kill Casey Jones, because Casey Jones is trying to take something away from him again. Something that
he's already lost his daughter, he's lost his wife, he's lost his brother, essentially,
and
in some way he's
lost his niece, because his niece, you find out, is really replacing the babysitter who's
also replacing the daughter, because she's musically inclined. His daughter was musically inclined.
So he's kind of using his niece as a replacement for his daughter and for the babysitter that he had really nice conversations with. We'll talk about the babysitter in a little bit.
And she now has kind of...
So he's sort of at the end of the rope. He's
right, because his niece is like, this is weird. You're paying me to babysit. There's no baby to sit.
Right.
And his brother, her dad, understands that, well, the deal that must have been communicated between the two brothers was, I'll pay her to house sit.
Right.
And she can go and practice her music, because he lives in a slum because he's disabled.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, in the 90s, if you were disabled, you probably lived in a slum, unfortunately. I mean, that's unfortunately the truth, both in the United States and Canada, I'm sure. But
she kind of levels with her dad, and she's like,
I'm
not really going there to house sit. He's paying me to babysit. And he is really understanding with her, and he's like, well, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. She's like, I'd rather not.
There's a moment in which you see the brother, Victor Garber, realize now what he's paying her to do.
Right.
And he's like, oh.
And it's not,
but it's not on her to fix.
Right.
And it's not on him either.
And there's a lot of moments of that, right? So, I mean, one of the great lines of the owner of the strip club, when she tells Bruce Greenwood, when he wants to come back, she says to him, we're here to entertain, not to heal.
Right.
Right? I mean,
which I think is I don't think that's true, though. I don't think people can, I mean, technically their business model is to entertain.
But that's what he's looking for. He's looking for healing. That is what Casey Jones was interested in the relationship between him and Christina.
Right.
Was the healing factor, because when there was healing happening between the two of them, he was healed as well.
Right.
Right? But there was a breakdown there.
Yeah.
It wasn't sustainable, because it's not fucking healthy.
No, it's
None
not.
of it was healthy.
No, it's not. And I mean, you can get short term. Okay.
And Sarah
You
Polly,
can get a short
and Sarah
term-
Polly recognized it too.
Right.
She said, the niece. She said, "This isn't going anywhere."
Right.
And he was really sweet with her too. He said, "I thank you for being as patient as you've been with me."
And I understand.
And I understand.
And
Like,
she even tries to reject the payment,
right.
the final
Every
payment.
time she did.
Right.
Yeah.
And he is. Yeah. How I will say though, in any form of entertainment, the purpose of entertainment is to first entertain. Number two, I think there is a little bit of short-term heal that should happen with entertainment.
Fair.
But you're right though. In the long term, it isn't
she
right.
even said, "I can suggest places that can help." I mean,
Yeah.
she was like, we're not, that's not what we're in the business of. We're not trained in that. You might get some healing from us, but that's not our primary
And
concern.
it's not our responsibility.
And it's not our responsibility. Absolutely. I mean, that was probably her best moment in the movie. She's kind of, I don't know.
She's not a very good
She's
boss.
not a very good actress. She's not a very good boss. She's Adam McGowan's wife, but
She was in a lot of things though.
that's interesting.
Yeah. All of his movies.
She is very pregnant in this movie.
Yeah.
So it's amazing that she's even working, right?
Right. They had to film all of her scenes in a week, I'm sure.
My goodness, yeah.
But no, so let's get to the final scene.
I want to talk before we get to the final scene. The scene that absolutely positively devastated me the most it was the interactions. Again, this is a movie I cannot wait to watch again. Because the layers that you understand later, I think the emotional impact of these conversations earlier in the movie have so much more weight. But he is talking to Sarah Polly. They have really great interactions in these car rides, and he starts to talk about the fact that did you ever question your parents? Did you ever
Did you ever question who decided? I didn't decide
to be brought into this world. I've had that moment. I've had arguments with my parents when I was a child and said, "Well, I didn't ask to be born." Right? So fuck you,
Right,
it's like the nuclear option, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't ask to be born. So fuck you,
it's on you.
it's on you,
It's
right?
your fault.
It's like ultimate deflection, right?
Yep. Oh,
And-
yeah.
and he says, it's like everybody. And he asked her if she's felt that way before. She said, "Yeah, I have, and everyone has." And it's like, well, it's once you. I'm trying to remember how he exactly frames it, but he says, now that you're here, now you finally accepted that you're here, who's asking you to stay?
Yeah.
That fucking wrecks me.
There's another conversation that they had about friends, which ties into the other conversation during the search for his daughter about friends. He asks his niece. Basically they have a conversation about having friends and having the number of friends, and he's basically like, well, there's three options you can have. You can either you can have lots of friends, you can have no friends, or you can have some friends and
Yeah.
accept the fact that you have baggage.
Right.
Which she questions that a little bit, like,
Yeah.
well, I'm glad that, because the question comes up about the relationship between the two brothers,
Yeah. Yeah.
because she asks if they are
yeah.
friends,
Yeah.
and there's unresolved
Yeah.
everything
They
there. I mean,
recognize that they have baggage, but it's unresolved.
it's
Yeah.
unresolved, and it's a strained relationship. Like, you see them together and they practically don't talk.
And Sarah Polly doesn't know. The daughter, Victor Garber's daughter, Sarah Polly, doesn't know. I don't
She
think.
doesn't know anything about that. No, I don't think
the
so.
relationship that her father had with her uncle's wife. She doesn't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she picks up on the fact that they are different around each other.
Right, because she says
She doesn't like her father
when he's around.
Yep.
Right,
Yep.
when they're around each other. Yeah. So there's a lot of really deep, like, every conversation has some purpose to talk about the need of friends or loneliness or pain and loss or suffering and
it's really, really, I mean, the script is phenomenal. The fact that you can get these conversations, that all of these conversations in and of themselves are meaningful. Like, I can take something away from all of these conversations and all of these interactions, yet I don't know how they quite fit into the overall plot or what is to be revealed. And then to finally be gradually kind of given the reason for all of these motivations is incredibly fulfilling in this weird way.
It's basically what Adam McGowan is handing the viewer is a box with all the puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
And he's dumping it out in front of you. It's like, it's for you to figure out how
there's
this
a
all goes
picture.
together. There's a picture here, but we got to put it all together.
But we've got about 2 hours, and we're gonna put it all together.
Right.
Yeah.
So the end.
Yeah.
So throughout the course of the movie, you have seen flashbacks to the search for his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
You have seen a videotape that he made of his wife and daughter with his daughter playing piano.
Yep.
And now, after it's been concluded that the people in the search party finds his daughter, who it was that finds the daughter.
Yep.
And now Bruce Greenwood's going to kill the DJ, Casey Jones.
Yep.
And Casey Jones, like, almost asking to be released.
Yeah.
I mean, almost like nobody's asking me to stay anymore. So do it. I know you're scared.
Yeah.
I know all about you.
Nobody's asking me to stay.
Nobody's asking me to stay now
God,
because he's no longer the DJ at the club anymore.
That's his last tether.
It's the last tether to
his last tether to Christina. It's last tether to his unborn child.
Right.
Yeah.
And because there's a contract that basically is going to cut him out of his life, cut him out of the baby's life.
Right.
So he's like, he sees the gun and Bruce. It's like, do it. I know you're scared, but do it.
Yeah.
You know.
But he
also says, I know everything about you.
Yeah.
I know about your daughter. I know about, and I was the one who found her.
Yeah.
And at that moment, Bruce Greenwood just hugs him.
Yeah.
And just tells him it's okay. You know, and it's like basically all is forgiven.
And it's almost like, for me, I hope, it's almost for me like it makes the death of his daughter real.
Yeah, like now he can finally.
There's a way
the
to
baggage
move
can be
forward.
put away.
Yeah,
and now it's time to move forward, because that's when it then flashes back to when he's taking the video of his wife and his daughter, playing piano, and there's a knock on the door, and he goes to the door, and it's the babysitter, and it's Christina.
Yeah.
And she's very dorky looking.
Got
she's
the big
very
glasses
young.
and
She's got
pimples,
big, and she's got a retainer.
Yeah.
And then it jump cuts to him taking her back home, and they have a conversation about, or he's just gushing over his daughter.
Yeah, he's happy,
very
proud dad.
He's a very proud dad,
and she is very meek and sort of.
And she's just very silent. She just listens.
Yeah.
And she says to him, it's like, or because he asks, like, well, what's on your mind? It's like she hadn't said anything.
Yeah.
And she's like, the way you talk about your daughter that's just nice.
And she even says, I wonder if there's anyone who talks that way about me.
Because he says, I'm sure your family does. And she's like, I don't think so.
I don't think so, yeah.
And it's very quiet, and it's just, and he realizes, like, his face kind of just.
He picks up on that.
Right. It's like, oh, she's got a shitty home life.
Right.
And, which, I mean, all right, here comes the joke. She's a stripper. Of course she's got a bad home.
Right, right.
Daddy issues and whatnot.
Right.
That's the stereotype, right? So, he says to her basically that I'm sure they talk about her, and she's like, nah, I don't think so. And he says something very nice to her, and he's like, his daughter likes very much that she listens to her.
Right.
And then Christina says the same thing back. It's like,
her.
I'm glad that she listens to me.
Yeah.
And then she says, these rides home are really nice.
Yeah.
I really enjoy these. And then she gets out of the car, and you watch her walk.
He does ask her too, before she gets out of the car, he asks her. And it's very important. He asks her, if there's anything you need, if there's anything going on that I can help with, let me know.
Right.
And she just kind of deflects it very gently.
And she just like Sarah Polly did. He tries to pay her. She tries to say no, but then he's like, he insists.
Right.
And then she smiles. She gets out of the car. You watch her walk all the way up the super long walkway, walks in through the door, shuts the door.
Yeah.
Fade to black. And it's like that was the final piece in the puzzle. They are working each other's issues out with each other.
Yeah. And in a lot of ways, she's our victim. And you don't even know what exactly it is. But
right.
She's sort of the centerpiece of this movie that everyone sort of rotates around, right? Like you've got Casey Jones, you've got Bruce Greenwood, you've got even to some degree the
Thomas,
the pet smuggler guy, right? They all are somehow in her orbit, but yet she is the one who needs the most help.
Yeah,
and you never really get a sense of what she needs.
But when that last piece falls into place, she does get what she wants out of Bruce Greenwood in the sense that he fawns over her.
Yeah.
Not sexually, but that he is almost detached from her when she dances for him, but he needs her.
But he knows.
And nobody else needs her in their life.
He knows that
she's
it's
aware.
her, right? Later? Right.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, from the very beginning, it was meant to be a mutually beneficial relationship, even if it was probably codependent.
Right. It's fascinating. It's like that relationship between those two characters is so undefined yet profound in this movie, right?
Well, sometimes
They do because you see that.
Well, sure, but what I was saying,
I'm saying you see that in her, the way she reacts to him in the car,
right?
And what she says, I really appreciate these moments,
these conversations,
and that they still have that at the strip club,
and yet his conversation is so detached from what they are actually.
But she is still feeding off of him because she knows that he's a good person.
And he cares about her.
And he cares about her. And they care about each other in like these almost parasitic ways.
Yeah.
It's so unhealthy. Like they're not talking about what they really need.
No. But again, it's short-term healing.
Yeah.
It's 2 days worth of healing.
It's the strip club, right?
Because when he's not around, when he's not in the strip club, it's not a night that he's there. She's more forceful with Casey Jones and with the manager.
Right.
And then she's vulnerable.
Yeah.
When he comes back in. And then when you see him outside, like he goes to go find out the pet smuggler's deal, and he's doing his job and being kind of forceful about he's a little bit of just kind of a soft-spoken guy, but he's still like, I need to see this is what I'm here for. I'm here to audit you.
Yeah.
So they are getting a short-term healing, but it only lasts for about 48 hours. Then he has to come back, and it
goes back to it. It's like we're here to entertain, not to heal.
Yep.
It's a short-term fix. None of these people are getting what they really need because they're all broken in a way that, they can give each other what they need for that moment, but nothing is lasting.
Right. And
but you do get I feel like there is a sense of resolution with Casey Jones and Bruce Greenwood. I feel like they close a loop, right?
Which might begin closing other loops down the...
Hopefully. But the way they end the movie, to me, is so sad. Because she is the one who's left out. Because her loop is left unclosed.
She's left out.
Yeah, and they really fucking drive that home to me. I mean, that long walk into an unhappy home.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so sad.
It's still sexy though.
It is.
It's a sexy movie.
I mean, there was a funny moment actually when I'm watching this where right before Mia Kirshner comes out for her first striptease, they kind of pan across some patrons, and there was a guy who looks like just like Nick Cave. I'm like, holy shit, it's Nick Cave. And Jeff's like, really? I was like, I think so. And I start to look it up, and then while I'm looking it up, they play
Everybody Knows.
Everybody Knows, which I always get Leonard Cohen and Nick Cave mixed up. Always. It never fails. They fuck with me all the time. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Nick Cave.
They sound so much alike. Yeah.
And then I'm like, it had to be Nick Cave. And then I realized, oh, it's not Nick Cave. It's Leonard Cohen. And I realized that's definitely not Nick Cave.
Everything, all the house. I watched the House of Cards crumble.
I went from like this awesome, like I nailed it moment to, the House of Cards crumbling. But I will say that scene is the sexiest scene when she comes out in the schoolgirl outfit
later. Yeah,
to Leonard Cohen. It's super sexy, and then what happens later?
Well, she comes back out
to it,
but she's detached from it.
And Casey Jones is no longer the DJ. It's the
Bruce
pregnant
Greenwood's gone.
wife owner, and Bruce Greenwood's gone, and it's
sad.
And everything is a little disconnected.
Yeah,
and
it's
it doesn't
sad.
feel right. Yep.
She's not engaged in it anymore. Because there's a sign language thing that she does at a particular point in the song, but she doesn't put
everything is off.
She doesn't do it at the right time.
Right.
She doesn't do it at the right speed. She's just detached.
It's brilliant filmmaking. It is truly like that. That scene,
it's the bookends.
That scene is it's a very oh man, yeah, we're having a sexy scene, right? But oh yeah, we are.
Yeah.
But there's a point because later on it's going to be driven home real fast that we have a situation.
Yeah, it's she's
so tragic.
Lost now. Yeah,
she's
and
so tragic.
And Thomas could be the next person that she could kind of latch onto and get some sort of healing from, but he's never going to go back because there's no reason for him to.
Right.
He's just going to go on and live his life and hopefully not be caught smuggling,
yeah.
Even though the evidence is way stacked against him.
Apparently.
Yeah. But Bruce Greenwood's like, fuck you, I got my help.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But that's
another night is even the point. I think the point is her.
Right. It is. But she's left with nothing now.
Yeah.
And in a way though,
it's not a happy movie.
It isn't, but at the same time,
they give you a little bit of resolution with Bruce Greenwood's character, but ultimately
somebody has to be left out,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, it's the other person that he got the most help from.
Yeah.
Which honestly,
she's
though,
like a sin eater.
I mean, let's make it real here. Okay, let's have some real. Want to have real talk here?
Sure, real talk.
Isn't that life though?
Yeah.
I mean, we've had. Not just friends that we both have had, but each one of us have had friends or people who were at some point in time important.
Yeah.
Or a fixture in our life. And there are plenty of people that we may have left behind that we have no idea what our importance in their life was.
Yeah.
And now there's a hole.
Absolutely.
That had to be filled by something else or someone else.
Yep.
That's kind of life. I
It
mean,
is.
it's a well, kids, just pick yourselves up by the bootstraps and live. Buck up.
Yeah,
because this life sucks, man.
It's just I think the real fuck of it in this movie is that you're left with an understanding of not a real specific reason for her pain, but a pretty good inference of her pain, and it's just so unresolved.
Right.
And you can't help but to imagine her pain and how is she going to come back from that? Who is in her life that can help her? So it's sad. It's super fucking sad.
It is. It is. But
I don't know. It's like that moment of despair. Like everybody has it. I mean, we've both in our life suffered from depression, and we've been at low points where it's like, yeah, everybody I think feels that way at some point. But
yeah, and everybody at some point in time seeks for someone else to fill a hole.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not a someone else. probably should never be a someone else, but it's it's human nature
Yeah.
to desire that connection. That well, I'm thinking of Bruce Springsteen's "Human Touch," because that song is all about having that other person to kind of cling on to, and that's not healthy, but that's human nature.
I think for me, you identify with Bruce Greenwood's character, or at least I did in this movie, and to the point of he's someone who needs someone to help him fill that hole, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you do definitely get a sense that she is getting something from that interaction as well, but you discount it as secondary. And then you realize that once he is filled, he has gotten what he needed. He maybe is healed. That there's still,
or on the way.
There's still, she's still left with
right. It's
without any sense of help or assistance.
Well, and the thing is also you're pretty damn sure that so Casey Jones was fired. I'm assuming. I'm also assuming that the lady who runs the Exotica is standing firm, is never going to let Bruce Greenwood back in.
Right.
So she has to now leave the club to find them, or one of them, or both. But there's no sense that that's ever going to happen.
There's also the relationship that Mia Kushner has with the club owner.
Right.
They have clearly some sort of sexual relationship. I mean, they make out, they kiss. At one
they
point.
did. Yeah.
So there
There's
is
some
something there.
sexiness.
There is something there. Yeah. Like they are both getting something from each other. Whether or not that's enough to sustain it, or if it's even anything real, is left to be determined.
It might just be. Yeah, that was fun.
But there was a scene where she is sort of has her head on the pregnant belly, and then they kiss passionately, and it's sort of like, oh well, that's interesting. What's that about? And it's not.
Yeah,
really,
I want to know more about that.
It's not really pursued.
Right.
And that's some sexy stuff.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It was not bad. But no, this
gut punched me, Jeff.
Yeah, I did.
This is a gut punch.
But
good movie.
I task you next year of finding the 4 for next year.
All right.
And you've got to you can see.
I got it. I can do this.
Now here's the thing.
I got this.
Well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Just save it. Save it. Put it in your back pocket.
I don't need you.
Put it in your back pocket.
I gotta fulfill myself.
You can stick those opinions in your back pocket.
Stick them in your pocket.
No, because obviously, Basic Instinct, home run.
Yeah.
Color of Night was Jade was
shit,
but fun shit.
It was funny.
It was a fun.
There were some funny moments.
There was fun to be had there.
There were some things.
But this one is like fucking walk off grand slam, bottom of ninth, game 7 of the World Series.
This is
We Are the Champions.
This is a movie that's going to stick with me for a long time.
So
this is a movie where I'm going to seek out the Canadian Blu-ray that came out not that long ago. I mean, I am going to recommend this movie to anyone who will listen, including you that are listening now.
So, do you recommend this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a lot.
Yeah, I kind of do too. No, I picked it. I bought it. I own it now.
Let's talk about the DVD that you bought.
Yeah. So the DVD I bought probably is over 20 years old.
Yeah. It's like first generation digital video.
Now, here's the funny
disc.
thing. It was sealed.
Yeah. Oh, whoa.
So
that's vintage.
It's vintage. I broke
the seal.
I broke the seal. I broke it open. It still has a paper insert.
Yeah, the old paper inserts. Yeah.
That's hot.
Ooh, Exotica with the chapter listings.
On the back, yeah,
on the back. That was the thing when DVD first came out. Was like, ooh, there's chapters. You could skip to a chapter. Ooh.
Chapter 25, The Babysitter.
The babysitter. Oh, so sad. Fuck. But this disc is
Chapter 3 though.
It's
Schoolgirl.
It's in 4x3 for standard television.
It is for standard tube television.
But it is letterboxed within the 4x3. So
yeah.
and it's not anamorphic.
No.
Yeah.
So it is So, anybody who used to complain, oh, well, there are these black bars on my screen.
Right.
Imagine having them on all four sides.
That's what it was.
That's what it was.
It cracked me up. I joked that it was like watching a movie in a ViewMaster.
Kind of was. Like, I had to zoom in, but then that was also kind of funky at times.
The zoom was funky because
it only
helped.
kept the center where the original picture was in focus.
So,
everything on the periphery was out of focus.
Also there was resolution loss for sure with that as well. So, but yes, it's hilarious. But it didn't fucking matter. Like the movie is so strong.
Your eyes adjust to it real fast.
Yeah, you really. It is a powerful story that sucks you right in, and you don't even notice that necessarily that you're watching it. Probably the worst fucking viewing experience you could have.
Now,
short of on your phone.
My favorite thing, my two favorite things about this disc. First and foremost, the
film
menu,
recommendations.
Well, wait, the film, the 4x3 frame is respected in the menu. It's not letterboxed.
No, it's not. It's respected. Yep.
Okay, so first of all, there is no special features, which special
trailer.
features was but I expected at least a trailer.
Yeah,
that
there's no
is
trailer.
almost standard on every DVD. This is one of those classic DVDs that I put it in. I went to go take a leak. I come out.
It started playing by itself.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, you don't know how to play a DVD, do you? We're gonna play it for you.
Yeah, I hate that. I
hate that too. It's so annoying.
But then there was a menu option for film recommendations.
This is so great. So this was Miramax.
Yes.
Shoving some movies down our throats. What did they recommend, Geoff?
They recommend, and by the way, you can't click on any of these. They just show you. Like Water for Chocolate.
Okay.
Priest. I remember that box.
Yeah, that was a very controversial one. Like Water for Chocolate, I think maybe had some award buzz.
Yeah, I think that was when Miramax was getting into the buying Oscars game that they later perfected.
Sirens,
which
Elle
was
Macpherson and
Hugh Grant.
Is that who that is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This, I believe.
I never saw that. It looks dumb. It's got 2 thumbs up, though.
Yeah, all of these have 2 thumbs up.
Yeah.
Because Like Water for Chocolate has...
That I've heard was a good movie. Not
Yeah.
seen it. Priest was very controversial.
Then you have Playing by Heart.
Now, these are the more lighthearted ones.
Right, so you got Playing by Heart, which is Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
Is
that Sean Connery?
It's Sean Connery.
What the
and
fuck?
It's
I remember that movie box in the
Gina Rowlands is the woman.
In fact, I think I even had a screener of this. You know where we get the old box screeners, but I never watched it. I took home the screener and
Playing by Heart.
Playing by Heart. Yeah.
No, because I was going to say you didn't have Exotica because I think I
did. You get screener of Exotica? I'm pretty sure I got the screener of Playing by Heart, but I never watched it. Those were good. Screener days were the best at the video store.
I used to go and pick them up on the north side from MVC.
They were the best.
Yeah. Then you had Mighty Aphrodite.
Yep.
That's
Mira
Sorvino.
And I think that Tarantino had some connection to this because I think that around this time he started dating her. And then she was in the Replacement Killers with Chow Yun-fat.
Oh, yeah.
And he, I think, was a producer on that.
Of course he was, because it was some way to tie back to Kung Fu exploitation.
That was the guy who Antoine Fuqua directed that, who did Training Day later. Yep.
He was nominated for Best Director for that, wasn't he? Was he the first black?
For Training Day? Maybe, yeah.
I think he was the first black director to be nominated for Best Director. Okay.
And then Everyone Says I Love You, which is Woody Allen. Yeah.
And Alan Alda, Drew Barrymore. Yep. Drew Barrymore looking young and hot there.
Yeah.
God, that sounded gross.
So film recommendations. None of these movies, by the way, have anything fucking remotely close to
what Exotica?
To what Exotica is. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean maybe this Priest movie, but I doubt it.
No, not even.
So kind of a little bit of a time machine disc here.
Yeah, a little bit.
I don't care if you buy this version of the DVD. Just buy it.
Just watch this movie.
Oh, it does have 2.0 Dolby Surround.
It is not on Amazon 2.0. Ooh. It is not on Amazon. At least not on like Amazon to rent to watch.
I was going to say I bought this on Amazon.
You could probably buy it on Amazon, but you can't rent it on Amazon.
Oh.
I don't know where you can actually stream this movie. I guess something else we haven't talked about is the Canadian connection. I mean, this was a Canadian funded, Canadian produced movie, and the Canadian film scene. This is very much, I think, a building block in that you've got Don McKellar, who played the awkward smuggler, pet smuggler.
Yep.
He directed a movie called Last Night in the late 90s that starred Sarah Polley and David Cronenberg. It's an apocalyptic kind of vignette type of story, like what would you do on your last night on Earth kind of thing.
I kind of want to watch that.
It's really good.
Okay.
He also, I was involved in I think directed or co-directed The Red Violin.
Yep. Which is, at least co-wrote.
Which is also an amazing movie if you haven't seen it. Kind of like 3 or 4 different stories that interlock around an antique violin. Kind of sounds really boring, but it's really, really fucking good.
I remember that was, yeah.
He was also in David Cronenberg's Existence. This is a guy who's very much plugged into the Canadian film scene. And Sarah Polley, like I've already mentioned, is a very well-regarded writer and director to this day. She did a movie recently with Seth Rogen and Michelle Williams. I can't remember the name of it. She was a producer and writer and I think director on the Michelle Atwood miniseries. I can't remember the name of it on Netflix that just aired recently. Not Handmaid's Tale, but something else.
Fart Blasters.
Yes. And,
yes.
David Cronenberg was in that
show.
too. Like she is.
Oh, he was Fart Blaster?
Yeah, he was Fart Blaster.
Oh my gosh.
She fucking knows David Cronenberg.
That's
and
awesome.
all the more reason for me to have like this longtime crush on Sarah Polley, because I have crushed on Sarah Polley since she was on the Disney Channel doing like Anne of Avonlea.
Wait until she's in God's Not Dead 4.
No, which explain.
So my first crush was Alyssa Milano. She regains
She's
number
solid.
1 spot. She is solid.
Regains number 1.
Regains number 1. I wrote whole articles about her movies a couple of years ago on B Movie Enema. When she probably will become a senator someday in her life, I might immediately be put on a list. Just warning everybody.
All right.
Because of those articles. I talked about her boobs a ton.
A lot, yeah.
A ton.
Yeah.
Because they're nice.
They're
They're
good.
nice.
Yeah.
She's a big breastfeeding advocate.
Yeah, she is.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Anyway, UNICEF ambassador, no less.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, but in the early 90s, thanks to Nickelodeon, I saw a little show called Clarissa Explains It All.
Yeah.
Melissa Joan Hart would become a big crush for me. Then, of course, Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Yeah.
And then recently, well, some years ago, she stumped for Mitt Romney against Obama. It's like, ooh, that
Red
might
flag.
be a foul tip.
It's a foul tip.
Yeah, it's a foul tip.
That's a foul tip.
Okay, I see
Not
what
a
heat
deal
you're
breaker.
bringing.
Not a
I
deal
see what
breaker.
heat you're bringing.
But it's a foul tip.
But I'm gonna foul that one off.
Yeah.
And then she did that Looney Tunes thing where like you throw a really slow ball that like you swing at multiple times and then
it just hovers.
right, and then
it
you
moves,
get
and
then
it hovers and moves.
right, and
yeah.
then the guy's like strike 2, strike 3, you're out. When she was the leading,
You're swinging it 3 times.
Yeah.
Yep. And yeah.
she was the leading star in God's Not Dead 2, and that was I broke up with her.
Yeah.
It's like your Christploitation is
Christploitation. Yeah. Yikes.
Like Ray Wise can get over this because he basically plays Satan and he plays an ACLU lawyer.
Oh, I see. That's too funny.
Oh my God.
He plays the best devil. He's played the devil in so many things.
Right.
Yeah.
And he like the whole time he's like, we're going to prove that God is dead. Yeah.
Oh, I bet he just relished it. He's like, fuck it,
yeah.
paycheck, cash that shit. Yeah, I'll do it.
I think he is like
Is
pretty
really?
religious.
That's-
But that's, I mean, whatever.
Whatever.
This
guess.
is probably it's like, okay, well, this guy I know goes to church, so he looks evil.
God
you know?
is dead.
Yeah. But yeah, she plays like the daughter of like what's the whatever. I don't
Who
fucking
cares?
care. Man,
Anyway, we've got way off track.
Broke up with her.
Yep. But Sarah Polley, close to my heart, still close to my heart. She's awesome. She's super cute, creative spirit, stuff anyway. And she's in this movie, and I didn't realize she was in this movie, and I was very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, it was. God, this is going to be probably number one for a real long time.
Yeah, this is it.
I mean, let's be honest.
I never
Raw
thought-
Force is great,
Raw Force is great.
but that's a whole nother stratosphere of awesome. This is going to be this is sitting on pole position right now, and everybody else is chasing after it.
Yeah, and I think it was so unexpected for me as well, which it's going to be hard to top this one, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, go watch this movie.
Go watch it. Now, understand it's a sad movie, but it is sexy too. It's sexy sad.
It's sexy and sad. It's like when the stripper's crying.
No, that's when I get most turned on.
Yeah. There's a whole song about it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And on that note.
Yeah, on that note. So let's talk about our next big month of movie watching.
What's on the docket?
So October is Hellraiser-Oween.
Hellraiser-Oween. Title still to be determined.
Yeah. Back in May, we had Barker Bonanza, and we left a glaring omission, his most popular movies, right off.
Yep, we did.
And that was Hellraiser. And while we were still in the Hellraiser or the Clive Barker mode of thinking, we watched Hellraiser 1 and 2 and recorded that.
We did.
With the intent that every week in October, we would watch 2 Hellraiser movies until we covered all 10. And then we realized, oh, fuck, there's this thing at the end of the month that's coming out. That's called Halloween.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's like, gee, I think we probably should talk about that.
Probably should.
So what we decided to do was the first 4 Wednesdays of October are Hellraiser-Oween, which means
still working on that title.
Well, we're still working on that. Halloween. Razor-ween. Hallow-razor. That makes much more sense.
Hallow-razor?
Yeah.
I like that.
Anyway.
See how we did that? This is how we work. This is creative. This is how we work.
How the creative process.
Yeah.
We're pulling back the curtain.
Jesus. I mean, yeah. Man, that's gold we're giving them.
I know, right?
What did we decide on?
I don't know. Anyway, so Hellraiser 1 and 2, first week of October.
Yeah.
Second week of October, we're going to kill ourselves because we have 3, 4, 5. The next week, we're going to be opening up the limit configuration and getting our ball sacks razor cut open with chains for 6, 7, 8. And then the fourth week, 9 and 10, which are the imposter ones, because no Doug Bradley.
I can't believe we're doing this.
And then Halloween, because the last Wednesday in October is Halloween. Might as well.
Oh my God, what are we doing? Do we even have these? We have to get the box set or something. How are we getting these movies?
The reason why we're doing it is because I have the box. I don't have 9 and 10, but we can get those.
I'll get 9 and 10. Yeah. Oh my God, this is gonna
Let's just
suck.
rent them.
We'll just rent them. This is gonna suck so much.
Yeah.
This is gonna be truly our hell raising. This is
our in the mouth of madness moment.
This is gonna be the real true pain. I feel like.
Oh yeah.
I feel like the
chains right up in our ball sacks.
Oh fuck. How many nipple rings?
Oh man, we're gonna turn into like
Nipple
gothy,
hooks.
like fucking body morph people.
I don't know if we'll make it past October. That might be the end of Film Seizure, guys.
I just heard a bunch of people cheering.
I just heard deafening silence.
Because they've already turned off this episode.
Like, fuck this shit.
Yeah.
We're not talking about Exotica anymore. There was nothing sexy here.
No, there is sexy. There's tons of sexy here.
There was some sexy.
In Exotica?
Yeah.
There's a lot of sexy.
There was a lot of sexy.
Yeah.
But it's like sexy that makes you feel bad.
No, it doesn't make you feel bad. Anyway, so join us next week for Halloween. Halloween.
In the meantime, check us out on the social medias. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, @Film Seizure. You can email us at filmseizure@gmail.com.
Yeah, if you have stories of how you were getting some sort of healing from a stripper,
yeah, sexual healing.
Our,
Send us stories of sexual healing.
We will be your penthouse mailbag.
I like that. Yeah, true stories of penthouse mailbag.
Yeah,
or whatever. I don't know. Yeah. So until Hellraiser Owino Halloween Razor.
See you next week. My name is Geoff Arbuckle.
I'm Jason Oliver. And you have been listening to all sorts of sexy film seizure.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.